Welcome to Theory of Pets. I'm a passionate pet owner with a drive to help others like me uncover the truth about the pet industry and what goes on behind the scenes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Theory of Pets. My name is Samantha. For those of you new to the show, I know that last week I promised you an interview with a company to talk about the packaging of pet products. That did not work out the way that I planned, unfortunately. So I'm going to try and schedule that for a later podcast. And today I actually have a really great interview for you with the founder of Big Barker Dog Beds and also a licensed veterinarian. So I'm excited to share that with you. Dog beds are something that I feel like a lot of people underestimate the power of. I think people think that it gives their dog a comfy place to lay, but they really don't realize just how important a really high quality dog bed can be for your pet. So that's something that I wanted to share with you today. Dog beds can have a lot of great benefits. One of those being that it does give your dog his own space, just in the same way that we feel really good when we know we get to come home and lay in our own bed and that's your comfy, happy place. Your dog wants that same thing. So it's nice for him to have a spot for himself to relax whenever he wants to that nobody else goes. So he doesn't have to worry about being in the middle of the floor and having people walking around him or kids laying on him or anything like that. He has his own space. You should put a dog bed in an area where your pet feels comfortable, maybe in a family room or something like that. Typically, most dogs like to be around their humans, so that would be great. And that center of safety and security is a really great feature of dog beds. Dog beds also keep your pet contained to one area. If they have their own bed and you train them to lay there, then they're not jumping up on your furniture, jumping up on your bed, which I can't say anything about that if you do allow that, because we allow it in our home too. Our dogs do sleep on our furniture, but a lot of people don't like that. So if you don't, a dog bed gives them a comfortable option that isn't your personal furniture. And it also keeps your dog from jumping up on things. I will say, we do allow our pets on furniture, but we have large breed dogs and we have steps for them to get onto the couch and also to get onto our bed, because those are the two pieces of furniture that they're allowed on. And those steps keep your dog from jumping up and jumping down. When your dog jumps, think of how much your dog weighs. We have, for example, an 80-pound chocolate lab. So when she jumps down, all 80 pounds of her body weight are pushing down with force onto her joints, onto her paws and her legs and her shoulders that are all bearing that weight. So that can really be damaging to your dog's joint health over time. And you might not notice it when they're young, when they're 1, 2, 3 years old, but very soon when they're middle-aged, that will catch up to them. So dog beds give your pup a place to lay that's on the floor, that's still comfortable. And again, as I said, you can put that in a family room if you want to, or somewhere centrally located, so he still gets to be with you as well. Of course, you can have multiple dog beds. We do in our home. And there is one in our bedroom. We do have one dog that she doesn't like to be. It's actually our chocolate lab. This time of year in the summer, it's too hot for her to lay up in the bed with us, so she likes to lay on the floor. But if you provide your dog with multiple beds and you train him that is his place to lay, one, it will keep him safe from jumping up and down. And two, it also kind of contains the pet hair a little bit more. Instead of it being all over your bed and your bedding and your clothes and your bedroom and your furniture, your couch and things like that, it's not necessarily 100% contained. But it certainly helps to contain it a lot more when you can just pull the cover of your dog bed off and wash that and get rid of the hair, as opposed to it being spread out all over all of the furniture in your home. So there are a lot of really great benefits to having a dog bed. There's benefits for your dog, like that sense of safety and security. There's benefits for you, like the health of your dog and, of course, that shedding. But there's one major advantage to owning a dog bed, to providing your pet with a high quality dog bed that really sticks out above the rest, and that is his joint health. We talked about the jumping up and down from the furniture, but think about when your dog lays on a traditional dog bed. If it's made with polyfill or it's fairly flat, your dog's essentially laying right on the floor and his joints are taking a lot of pressure. That's what I want to talk about today, and that's what I discussed with Eric Shannon, who is the founder of Big Barker Dog Beds. Eric created that brand for just that reason. He had a large breed dog, and he couldn't find a suitable product on the market. So they created Big Barker. And Dr. Sarah Wooten, she is a licensed veterinarian that practices in Colorado. And she phoned in as well to speak with me and just add a little bit of insight from a veterinarian's perspective, because she recommends Big Barker beds to some of her clients. And she actually tells us towards the end of this podcast, you'll hear a personal story of hers that really hit home for me, and hopefully it will for you as well. So I will just go ahead and jump into that interview that I did. And if you guys enjoy this podcast, if you've listened to other episodes in the past and you enjoy it, I really highly encourage you to jump onto iTunes and give us a review. That will help me grow our podcast really quickly. So I would really appreciate that. I am going to go ahead and jump into the podcast and let you guys check it out and hear what Eric and Dr. Wooten had discussed with me, and some of their tips and pointers about providing your pet with a really high quality dog bed. Today, I'm chatting with Eric Shannon, who is the founder of Big Barker Dog Beds, and Dr. Sarah Wooten, a licensed veterinarian. We'll be discussing the importance of providing your canine companion with a high-quality dog bed, how the best dog beds can alleviate and help prevent joint pain, and of course, we'll be talking all about the Big Barker Company. So welcome to Theory of Pets, guys. Again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. If you want to just start out by explaining the benefits of dog beds in general, I feel like this is a topic that a lot of pet parents aren't educated about, and they don't really think about it until their dog starts to get a little bit older.
Sure. So I'll start by that. The first time I really became aware of dog beds was probably about 10 years ago when I had a puppy named Hank, and he was diagnosed with hip dysplasia when he was only about a year old. And the vet told me at the time that a couple things I could do were keep his weight down, watch his exercise, and get him a good bed. And I didn't really know what that meant. So I went online and I bought what I thought was a good bed. It's probably about $100 from one of the big pet catalogers. But when you lay on it, it's made of that polyfill material, which is what you find in human pillows, and it really wasn't that comfortable to lay on. And that was sort of how I got into the dog bed world in general, was doing more research, finding some small suppliers that made better stuff. So the best way to put it is if you've ever slept on a really bad pull-out couch, or if when you were a kid, if you slept in a sleeping bag on a hardwood floor when you were visiting your grandma, that's pretty much what a normal dog bed is like. So we designed these beds where the whole point is that we feel the mission of a dog bed is to eliminate any direct pressure from the floor on the pressure points. And the pressure points are, the hip, the elbow, any part that's really bearing a lot of weight. So that's what the beds are designed to do, so that when you lay on them and your dog lays on them, there's total support. There's no joints grinding into the floor below.
Excellent. That's a great way to explain it. I never really, thought about it as in comparative to us sleeping on an uncomfortable bed, but certainly that's what our dogs feel like. Eric, I do have to mention, I just did a product review of a Big Barker bed, and I was really amazed at the difference, and I compared it in my video. I have like you said, I thought it was a decent dog bed. I had done some research. We bought it about 6 months ago, but we have 2 large breed dogs, and there are spots on it already. That polyfill goes flat so quickly. So essentially, if our dogs were laying on that bed, there's not much between them and the floor that they're laying on.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Wooten, we spoke briefly earlier, but could you touch on, we had talked about dogs that really suffer in silence because their symptoms and their signs are so different than the ones that we experience as humans. So a lot of times pet parents don't realize what their dog is dealing with.
Absolutely. I think one of the most common things I hear in private practice, because I am a practicing veterinarian in Colorado, and I do see a lot of just mainly dogs and cats, but I tell pet parents that their pet is painful. I say, your dog's painful, and they go, really? Well, he doesn't cry out or she doesn't cry out. And what people don't understand is that signs of pain in dogs is very different than in humans. We're two totally different species, and we experience pain the same way, but we exhibit it in very different ways. And some of the signs are very subtle, and they could include things like sleeping more often, a decreased zest for activities they used to engage in, such as play activities, fetch, walks, a decrease in exercise tolerance, so they can't go as long as they used to. Some dogs just get really cranky when they are in pain, and so the pet owner will describe, yeah, he's just getting really grouchy. Well, that's a sign of pain in your dog. Another sign of pain is just slowing down, and a lot of pet owners will say, well, yeah, he or she's getting old, and so he's just slowing down. Well, old age in itself is not a disease, and not usually affiliated with just slowing down. Science shows that up to 70% of dogs over age 6 have some form of osteoarthritis, which is degenerative joint disease and inflammation in the joints. And people just don't realize it. So, yeah, I hear that a lot, and it's just that the signs of pain in dogs look different than it does in people.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eric, so you noticed some of these issues with your dog, and that's what got you started with Big Barker. So I would say the biggest difference with the Big Barker beds is the materials they're made out of. Can you tell me how you found those materials and why you chose to use the ones that you did?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a previous business that was an online retail business, and our mission then was to sell really high-end dog supplies that you couldn't find in local pet stores. And we ended up specializing in dog beds, and the reason I gravitated to them is I feel like out of all the stuff you can buy for a dog, a bed is really the only thing you can buy that has a permanent quality of life difference. Like the collars and the bowls and the toys are all nice and fun, but it's the bed that your dog can be on for 12 hours a day or more, and it's really going to make a big difference. So when I decided to do Big Barker, I got in touch with somebody I had a relationship already who has been in the foam industry since the 70s. This guy's like a world-class expert when it comes to foam. And I told him, I said, look, here's what we're looking to do with the Big Barker. Number one, it's got to be made in the USA. We need to use American-made foam, nothing less than that. Number two, we have to make them big enough for even the Great Danes and the Mastiffs out there, so we have to fully support even the biggest of the big dogs. And we have to solve what's the number one practical problem when it comes to dog beds, which is the flattening issue. You mentioned before that you had beds that you put a bigger dog on it for 6 months, a year, and you start to get that crater in the middle. It's made of foam. Or if it's made of polyfill, you just have like clumps and blotches, which once that happens, the bed has absolutely zero support. So that's why we designed the beds the way we did, using premium-made American foam. Everything is made in California. So we're able to offer that 10-year warranty to guarantee the beds don't flatten, which is what most people are interested in right off the bat, especially people that have been through it. But ultimately, it's not even about the not flattening. It's about providing a bed that's going to give your dog a better quality of life for as long as you're using it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the different foams, now, like I mentioned, we have 2 large breed dogs, so we have the traditional Big Barker bed, but you use 2 different types of foam because you make a bed, also the Barker Jr. for dogs that are less than 50 pounds. What is the difference between the foam that supports the bigger dogs and the foam supporting the smaller breeds?
It's the level of resilience in the foam. So we want to use a foam that is soft enough that the dog, like on the top layer where the dogs sink into it, and on the support layer, stiff enough so that it prevents the dog from sinking all the way to the floor. So for the normal beds, that support layer needs to be a lot thicker because you're going to have boxers and labs and mastiffs and Great Danes on it. For the Barker Jr. bed, they're typically going to be dogs 40 pounds, 30 pounds, or less. So really the difference is in the resilience, which translates into the bed not being too stiff for the dogs.
Dr. Wooten, do you think that all dogs should have a bed? I know we've been talking a lot about how beds can help when your dog already has joint pain, arthritis, hip dysplasia, things like that. But what about even brand new puppies or even younger dogs? Is it still important to give them a high quality dog bed?
Well, I do think it comes down to quality of life and preserving joint function for as long as possible. And so just like you would put, a young child or a teenager on a good quality mattress to try and keep their spines in good health, the same could be said for a dog. And a lot of medicine these days is focused on preventive care, trying to prevent disease. And I think the supportive sleeping surfaces can help that in that form of medicine, because what we're trying to do is keep disease from happening. And I'm not saying that a dog bed will keep disease from happening, but I'm just saying that you're providing a supportive surface for any joint to sleep on. And I know, I'm almost 40. I really appreciate a supportive sleeping surface, even though I don't have arthritis yet.
Absolutely.
And I know, right? The same thing for us.
Yeah.
So, I believe that a supportive sleeping surface for the entire life of a dog, just like high quality nutrition, just like vaccines and heartworm prevention, it's all kind of the same thing. It's trying to prevent problems for as long as possible.
And I know, Eric, like I said, I just did that product review. And of course, the first thing that stood out to me, which I'm sure a lot of your customers would agree with, is that 10-year warranty. That was something that I had thought of, that even if you buy the bed when your dog is a puppy, you're likely that, especially for the larger breeds that don't have as long of a lifespan, this bed could potentially last through a majority of your dog's life, which is unheard of with any other bed on the market. You just couldn't even fathom thinking about buying a bed and not ever having to replace it again through the life of your pet. Out of curiosity, how long is the longest that a Big Barker bed has lasted before it started to go flat?
Well, we haven't been making the beds for like 30 or 40 years, so that would be cool if I had some stories like that. But what I can tell you, though, is we expect them to last way longer than 10 years. The only reason we used 10 is because we were going to do lifetime, but we thought the number 10 was more specific and more relatable. But yeah, we fully expect you could have a mastiff laying on this thing for 15, 20 years, and it's going to be fine.
Wow, that's amazing. And you had touched previously a little bit about how your products are proudly made in the U.S., which is a wonderful thing. And I know there's a lot of consumers out there that are looking specifically for products made in the United States. So I just want to commend you for that, because that doesn't happen very much anymore. So that is another great benefit to your company as well. And I also know that you guys do a lot of great charity work. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the charity work that you do?
Sure. You mind if I touch on the Made in the USA thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it's great to support businesses in the United States. I mean, I do it personally. But there's a reason for your dog to, when you're buying a bed or anything for your dog, really, it really is important to pay attention to what's in the bed and do your research, because there's some crazy stuff that goes on in China. We all know about the pet food and pet treat scandal that just due to negligence or just not caring at all.
Yeah, those have been coming to light a lot lately.
Yeah, and it's really, really sad. And the Chinese foam industry is really no better. We're going to be putting out a piece about a study that was done a few years ago where they analyzed beds from major brands, and they studied for what's actually inside these beds. And they found alarming rates of lead, arsenic, all kinds of crazy stuff in these dog beds. So even if I wasn't the founder of Big Barker, I would not be trusting any bed made in China, because your dog is laying on this, and who knows what they're breathing in on a regular basis. The other thing, too, is the Chinese foam industry is not known for its quality. So when people buy these memory foam beds that flatten out, well, it's because they're made in China. I mean, they're using the cheapest materials to sell it at the cheapest price to make the biggest profit. So just from a logical consumer standpoint, made in the U.S. can be really, really important when it comes to product quality, longevity, and just safety of the product.
Absolutely. That's great advice. And it's certainly one thing I think that a lot of pet parents don't realize. Like you had said, with dog food and treats, we're starting to realize it a lot more about the safety of products. But everything from the chew toys to the beds that our dogs sleep on, you really need to pay attention to how they are made, because there are so many toxic chemicals used in the making of the products.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It is. It's too bad. And just again, if you could you explain a little bit about some of the charity work that you guys do, because some of it's really wonderful.
Sure. Yeah. So charity work, the main group that we've been supporting recently has been the working dog portion of the community. So specifically with police. So our goal is to provide beds to as many of the canine units around the country as possible. But not just police dogs. We have some relationships with service dog organizations that train and provide beds to veterans that are coming home and need service dogs to take care of either mobility issues or PTSD issues. That's sort of where we focus on right now. And also some things that we don't really publicize at all. We make it a habit to, wherever we see a story in the news of a police dog that's injured in the line of duty, we reach out as soon as we can, offer to send them a bed to help in their recovery. That's where we're focusing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Thanks.
I think as another thing, just from a consumer standpoint, it's nice to see companies that will give back to whichever industry that they're a part of. To see them give back to that is also something that I typically look for, and I know a lot of other consumers look for as well. So that's a wonderful thing to see.
Thanks. Yeah, we're really trying to expand our relationships in the working dog community. We have a relationship with the University of Pennsylvania Working Dog Center, which is an awesome place that I recommend everybody check out. They do some amazing things with training dogs that do really incredible things. We were there a few months ago, and they showed us one of the cancer detecting dogs. And I heard that was a thing, but I didn't really know it was a thing that actually works. And we watched this dog pick out the cancer cells. I think it was 9 times in a row, 100% accuracy. So we provided beds for all the dogs in the Working Dog Center. So I think there's about 25 to 30 dogs there on a regular basis. So yeah, we're just happy to help those dogs as much as we can, because we figure that if our beds are going to support these dogs who are out there working really, really hard, and they really could use a good rest, I feel that really gives us a lot of personal fulfillment and something to smile about every day.
Yeah, absolutely. What a nice way to put it, too, that it gives you guys something to smile about every day. So that's all the questions that I have for you guys, unless there's something specific that you guys would like to talk about. And, anything from the benefits of dog beds to anything about Big Barker that you'd like to mention.
Well, I have a personal story. So I do have several patients that are utilizing the Big Barker beds. I have one patient in particular named Tango, and he's a 12-year-old lab with severe end-stage arthritis. Poor guy just could barely get around on one of his back legs. And we tried everything. We tried all kinds of pain medications and joint supplements. We even had a custom-made orthotic brace for him, and just nothing was helping, and he just could not get comfortable. And his owner was like, "Is there anything else I could do?" And I said, "Well, I know about this, dog bed company. It's called Big Barker, and they're specific about making dog beds for big dogs." And Tango's really big. He's 120 pounds. Wow. So she bought one, and I can't tell you what this dog bed is done for this dog's quality of life. She says now he's sleeping through the night. He's able to get around better during the day because he's not up all night, and he's sleeping deeply, where before he just would turn around and around and around, just couldn't get comfortable. So I have some clinical experience with what a difference these beds make for dogs that are suffering in chronic joint pain. And I just can't speak highly enough about these products, just because of what I've seen and what it has done for some of my patients in clinical practice.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Eric, was there anything else about Big Barker specifically that you would like our listeners to know about?
I think we covered the most important parts. And if anybody's interested in learning more, two great places to go besides our website are on Amazon. There's just thousands and thousands of reviews. And on Facebook, there's probably several thousand pictures from customers posted there as well. And there's all kinds of heartwarming stories of recovery and dogs regaining pep in their step, which are really, really nice to read.
Yeah, of course. I do. One thing, speaking about your website, because I do a lot of product reviews, and so I see a lot of websites all the time. And you guys is just really well done with a lot of great quality information. So I will link that in our show notes as well. And people can jump on there too, because there's a lot of great information about the Big Barker beds, but also about the technology behind the making of the beds, and why the beds are so beneficial to dogs with hip and joint problems. So that's kudos to you on that great website, because it really shares a lot of information.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys again so much for taking the time out of your day today to talk with us. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that interview and you got as much information out of it as I did. I know I certainly learned a lot from speaking with Dr. Wooten and Eric Shannon, the founder of Big Barker Dog Beds. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, you can check out our website, which is theoryofpets.com. There is a section there for comments and, of course, questions. Some of those I will go ahead and air on future podcasts. So don't feel shy about recording them if you'd like. But, of course, there's also a place where you can just type your questions if you're more comfortable with that. And either way you do that, I will be sure to answer every question. Even if I don't air your question, I will certainly be sure to answer that for you, or find somebody that can answer that for you and get that answer. You will also see on our website the show notes, and those show notes are from this show, and they are going to include some of those links that I was talking about with Dr. Wooten and Eric Shannon. The link for the studies on dog beds, their Facebook page, of course, the Big Barker website. I put a link up there to the Pennsylvania Working Dog Center, which Eric was talking about a little bit. So there's some great links there if you want some further information. And then, of course, there's past show notes as well. So if you're looking for more great information on the pet industry, we have some great past shows about everything from responsible dog breeding to what we should be looking for in the foods that we're feeding our dogs. You can find all of that stuff there. And again, make sure that you ask any questions or leave any comments or anything like that. If you guys could take a quick minute to jump on iTunes and just give me a review. Again, my goal with this is really to just educate pet parents and bring out some experts in the pet industry, in every corner of the pet industry, from toys to grooming to dog food to dog beds and everything in between. I want to answer your questions about how to better care for your pet and give you guys the information that you want. And the best way for me to do that, of course, is if you guys jump on iTunes and leave me some reviews, then this podcast will grow quicker, and I will have more access to a lot of those experts. So if you guys could do me a huge favor and do that for me, I would really appreciate it. And I will see you guys back next week with podcast episode number 5. Thanks for tuning in, guys.